Hey, what is up, mortals? It is I, Steampunk Jones here, and welcome back to part 11 of What If Naruto Was a Saiyan. Just wanted to greet you guys by just saying to sit back and relax. You're in for a treat. And so, we begin. The resulting explosion from the powered-up Rasengan caused trees to bend and snap at the base to the point that it resembled an impact from an asteroid. The shockwaves had reached far off miles from the source, catching the attention of hundreds of thousands of residents of the Land of Fire. When the dust settled, Naruto held the red-haired boy with one hand gripping his collar. The sleeve of the Uzumaki ninja had been torn to shreds, dripping from the sight. The boy was drained and could barely move, and it had been the first time he had to use his full power in battle, and had gotten cocky and injured himself. "You idiot!" Lifting the Saiyan ninja closer to himself, his blue eyes staring straight into his pale green eyes, his own staring into the blondes. Why? Why not kill me?" He snarled as his eyes watered, weakly lifting his bloodied hands and grabbing a hold of Naruto's arms. "Because you aren't a monster!" finally answered the Konoha native, breaking the confused line of questioning. "You and me, we're a lot alike," he confessed while Gaara's head shook, refusing the blonde's attempts, but slowly realizing that maybe things were not as he had thought they were. "I was treated pretty badly growing up here, but one day I finally made friends, and with them, I had finally something to fight for." Saying this, he lost his strength in his legs, and they were both now at eye level. Even though they were afraid of me, they accepted me and treated me as an equal. Struggling with his words from exhaustion, his chest heaved. His arm continued to bleed at his side. Gaara's head hung, and his eyelids tightened, trying to refuse the Leaf Ninja's words. "Gaara, you are no monster! If you need a friend, then let me be that friend. Let me help you!" His head snapped to meet his gaze, feeling shocked and confused that he would be treated this way, even after the damage he had caused and the lives he'd risked. But he could tell that the boy wasn't attempting to deceive him, or at least a small part of him knew. At this time, the other two Saiyan siblings arrived, their breaths shaking as well, from the speed that they had to muster to arrive. "Gaara!" shouted Tamari, while she ran over to her younger brother's side, just glad that he was alive. Kankuro quickly followed behind. "Take care of him!" nearly whispered the blonde shinobi before collapsing, while she ran to her younger brother's side, just glad that he was alive. Kankuro followed quickly behind. "Take care of him!" nearly whispered the blonde shinobi before collapsing unconscious, his blood loss and lack of chakra both contributing to his current state. The two Saiyan ninjas seemed baffled by the young boy's words, seeing as they were the enemy. But regardless, they quickly reacted, taking their brother and making a hasty retreat. Naruto Uzumaki," muttered the red-haired ninja before his own eyes shut, to finally allow him to rest. Back at the village, a momentary distraction from the large explosion had given Hiruzen a unique opportunity to summon the Monkey King Enma. The two fought back against the recently revived Hokage. For the moment, it seemed they were on the winning end of the battle. Orochimaru originally planned to defeat Lord Third with superior numbers, having him trapped. But due to his fellow Sannin, those plans had been spoiled, and he had to fight to be careful. After much battle between the Sound Ninja and the Toad Sage, it was clear that there was a decent power gap between them. The four looked at each other before realizing that they needed to retreat, though the Forearm Ninja now had a grudge after being burned by the white-haired male. "I'm coming for you, old man! Don't you forget it!" he spat before vanishing away with his team. "Well, that was a little anticlimactic," commented Jiraiya before turning to see the battle unfolding between the three Hokage and a ninja ape. "Ito Tensei." The man noticed this jutsu, remembering him from long ago as a forbidden jutsu created by the second Hokage. "Man, this is gonna be trouble." Jumping into the fray, the white-haired shinobi attacked his former teammate with a already prepared Rasengan. The attack just barely missing him as the sphere chakra drilled down where the serpent had been standing previously. Jumping back, Orochimaru had a wicked grin as his serpentine tongue hissed and licked his lips. "Oh my, was that supposed to hit me?" Quickly, before allowing Jiraiya time to respond, his neck stretched out and fangs bared ready to bite the shinobi. As the head was about to reach him, his long white hair grew and it covered his body, almost like a shield. The attack had failed, for the hair barrier was almost as hard as steel. "Curse you!" He growled before stopping to hear an annoyingly familiar laugh.
Same old Orochimaru,
exclaimed the older-looking male as his hair retreated once again, returned to its former length.
Same old tricks, too.
Annoyed, Orochimaru clenched his jaw before stretching his arm and shooting snakes from his hand that seemed to transform into the reptiles, jumping back to avoid the attack, his kunai both in hand to slice through the ones that could reach him. A growingly frustrated black-haired male glared at his former companion and bit his thumb before making quick hand signs and slamming his palm against the ground. Enough! Summoning Jutsu! A large cloud of smoke suddenly overtook the area, causing visibility to loosen in the tiled roof. Immediately knowing what was next, Jiraiya countered, doing the same and performed a summoning jutsu of his own. A massive horned snake was suddenly inside the village, its tail crushing parts of the stadium below where the tuning exams had been held just under an hour ago. In part, a familiar giant toad appeared to the silver-haired Sanin's side. Quickly, he hopped onto his head, noticing that Gamabunta was already pretty scuffed up from a previous encounter.
Let me guess, you helped the kid?
He asked, realizing that the previous battle must have drained his partner's summon of a great deal of stamina.
Yep, but it seems that we have something worse on our hands now,
replied the smoking toad as he puffed a cloud of smoke from his pipe. The two giant beings locked eyes. The serpent's hatred was overflowing.
We're back out of this pitiful village. Curse you, Orochimaru. I demand recompense for this,
hissed the purple-scaled snake at his summoner. Hush now, Manda. I brought you dinner, mocked Orochimaru as he steadied himself atop the snake. Showing a dastardly smile, the serpent struck, going straight towards the toad. Just when he was about to reach the chief of Mount Miyaboku, swerved around in an attempt to wrap him up.
Not this time.
The combatants knew each other so well that this was the only to be expected. The red amphibian noticed the attack. Meeting his partner, he spat out cannonballs of oil that were quickly lit aflame by the toad sage with a large flame that erupted from him. Most of the spheres missed due to the scaled beast's agility, but part of his tail was caught, and they were quickly lit aflame. The attack had been successfully countered to avoid further damage. Manda slithered around, slamming the flame-ridden tail against the ground to attempt to put out the burning oil. Acting more like napalm, they continued to burn him, until Orochimaru sent a large gust of wind that finally put out the flame. The beasts then clashed, and the shinobi launched from the heads of the beasts to fight each other hand to hand. Orochimaru was the first to strike, as a powerful right hand landed on the cheek of the Sannin. Using the impact of the blow as momentum, Jiraiya spun around midair and sent a spinning heel kick that landed on the pale-faced male's ribs, sending them in the complete opposite directions. The two were now standing on separate buildings, just a few dozen feet from each other, taking a breath from the continued bout. The crass, older-looking male stood from his knee and spat out a tooth that had been dislodged from the punch. In the opposite building, Orochimaru winced slightly, placing a hand on the right side of his ribs, feeling that some of his ribs were at the very least cracked. Standing to match his opponent, the serpentine male cracked his neck before teasing, "I think it's time we settle things, don't you?" He then made hand signs and pulled his signature blade from his mouth.
Agreed.
His face turned serious in the end. To stop this conflict, one of them might have to die. Jiraiya pulled out his scroll and quickly summoned 3 stone swords to his side to counter his opponent, then performed a shadow clone jutsu. Having 3 clones wield the blades, the 3 now ready jumped into battle with the speedy serpent. The piano-stringed-haired male narrowly avoided the slashes from the clones, either by blocking the attacks or outright dodging. Appreciating the opportunity provided by the clones, Jiraiya then performed a third summon. 2 small toads appeared from a small puff of smoke. Fukasaku and Shima, the elders of Mount Miyaboku, had joined in to help shift the tide of battle. "I see, things truly are dire," confirmed the green-skinned toad while nodding his head. "Oh my, such destruction," lamented the purple toad as she witnessed the wrecked buildings and the clash of giant beings in nearby premises.
"We need to end this as quickly as possible. Please, I need your help."
The green-garbed shinobi's chakra was in low supply. The battle had been going on for well over an hour. From the Sound 4 to Orochimaru, he was growing increasingly exhausted, and if he let up now, he would be killed, possibly the village with him. The 2 toads jumped on his shoulders and stood as still as a stone, concentrating and collecting nature energy for their summoner. Jiraiya then closed his eyes momentarily as his face began to morph. His nose growing and small warts began to erupt from his face. As he opened his eyes, his human pupils were changed into those of toes, and red markings covered the sides of his face, resembling bloodstains. With the help of the elders, he had activated his imperfect sage mode, and his power skyrocketed. Orochimaru seemed to easily be able to fend off the clones of his eternal rival, as his thin blade clashed against the stone swords being cleaved in his direction. After blocking a particularly powerful downward slash, the clone and summoning vanished, being replaced by the sage's fist that came with so much force that Orochimaru's sword literally fragmented and was hit in the chest, sending him flying to the other building and slamming him against a large pillar that indented his shape onto the stone surface. As these two combatants had their legendary confrontation, the Hokage were at a standstill. Hiruzen was more than strong enough to face the Ito Tensei forms of the first and second, but the infinite regeneration made this feel like a futile event. Breathing heavy while holding his combat stance, Lord Third realized that the only way to end this would be to either convince his old students to reverse the summoning, which was unlikely, or to steal his long-dead master's souls.
Forgive me,
he lightly whispered, while summoning two shadow clones to his side that quickly confronted the Hokage.
Reaper Death Shield!
Shouted by black-garbed ninja after performing the necessary hand signs, his predecessors were suddenly frozen in place, as unbeknownst to them, a Shinigami, the god of death, had appeared to consume their souls. In that moment, their souls were slowly being ripped from their hollow bodies, with a clone of the Third Hokage held position as a vessel for the Shinigami. As the seal was being performed, Hashirama and Tobirama's consciousness had returned to them. Even if they were still under control of Orochimaru, their bodies attempting to fight back against the jutsu.
No need, Saru. It's for the good of the village,
spoke the black-haired Kage, his voice showing strain.
It's for the best,
agreed Lord Second and nodded, attempting to stop his resistance to the seal. Exhaustion had already set in for the leader of Konoha, while he forced himself to continue the seal, knowing full well that he breathed his final breath on the battlefield.
Enma, thank you, my friend.
Nodding towards his partner summon, the great Monkey King's eyes were watered slightly, but his composure stayed strong.
You die a warrior's death, which was my honor to fight by your side.
After several minutes had passed, the seal had been completed, and the revived Kage had vanished. Gripping his chest, the Sarutobi head felt that his soul was being consumed by the Reaper. Looking out towards the village, he could see that his shinobi were causing the retreat of the invading ninja, and closer to him were his former pupils.
Jiraiya.
The will of fire that had driven the old man through his life, that was passed on to him from his masters, still burned strong in his final moments. Eyelids closing as he dropped to his knees, and then collapsed, a peaceful expression remained. Flashes of the past generations towards the new. He knew that the future was in deserving hands. His heart stopped, and he exhaled his final breath, his soul being consumed by the god of death. Thank you all for indulging yourselves in the story thus far. Hope you enjoyed it. Now, there are a few more things I'd like to go over before the video ends. Firstly, we have a primary channel called We the Celestials. We the Celestials is what we do here already, but their content is centered around the crazy world and lore of My Hero Academia. So please, check us out over there if you're feeling in the mood for a roller coaster of quirky content. We also have another relative to our channel, Anime Deep Dive. Anime Deep Dive goes deep into the facts and lore of a wide variety of anime. It's sure to expand your weeb knowledge for all kinds of series guaranteed. I'd like to let you all know on behalf of We the Celestials, I'd like to thank everyone involved in the production of today's awesome content. Their details will be in the description below. If you're perhaps interested in what we do here at WTC, then I would like to extend an invitation to join the team. The only caveat being we only accept members 16 and older to join our crew. You can find us on our Discord, which you can locate in the description below. Our Discord is an all-around fantastic place to be, whether you're a fan or looking to join our band of misfits. All you gotta do is hit up the recruitment server and sign up for whichever category of work that fulfills your interests. We're always looking for members to join us. Well, that's it from us for today's video. So thank you all for watching, and have a great day.